to get into storytelling, hey?
It's story
Of
time.
a special kind.
Of a special, award-winning.
Yeah.
Award-winning is what it is. From Cape Town to the world stage, South African children's publisher Imagnary House has just bagged the prestigious Bologna Prize for Best Children's Publisher in Africa. It's a huge global nod to the power of local storytelling, but behind the glossy covers and colorful illustrations is a deep mission to tell African stories with imagination, authenticity, and heart. And today we meet the dreamers behind the books shaping a generation. On the line, we are joined by the founders, Brad and Alison Harris, to walk us through this extraordinary achievement and what they stand for. Brad and Alison, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good to be here.
Inception point, Imagnary House. Before we get into the congratulations and oh my goodness me, how do you feel after winning? Walk us through the inception point of Imagnary House. There must have been a gap that you identified in the market where children's books, authentic African stories are not being told, and that's what drove Imagnary House?
There was definitely a gap that we noticed, but Imaginary House started quite organically and a little bit like a happy accident, where I published an anthology of short stories, and I started to, it did fairly well, and I started to get submissions from other authors and creators directly to me, and that then began the idea that actually we could do something with this. But I've always been interested in children's media, so we started looking around children's media, and frustrated at the, I suppose, lack of content that was purely around imaginative story, because we want to encourage the joy of reading primarily, and we don't want message or agenda to take over. Yeah. We just want children to fall in love with the act of reading, and that to be the starting place.
I mean, I love that.
Imagine.
Go ahead, Alison.
No, it's just, I guess that's where the name Imaginary House came about.
Yep.
That are championing imagination.
I would imagine that titles such as Hello Trees and Finding Filbert Frog and Friends have been really instrumental in your success as a publishing house. What themes or messages do you aim to convey through the books that you publish?
Yeah, so definitely those titles, and I think that's where it's quite an interesting space for us in telling authentic African stories, is it's subtly bringing in, for instance, the different trees within our landscape, and it's people going and looking into that, finding Filbert, the different scenes there. What was also wonderful in that is Claudine, the author, she works with the deaf, and so there's also characters within that book that have hearing aids, and it's those subtle things that kind of push that for us. And yeah, it's definitely, we've seen those titles also sell internationally really, really well.
Yeah, and just to hop on there as well, it's I think those titles that you've mentioned really carry our goal of trying to be story and character focused first, and then naturalizing a message. So making, for instance, in that message, making local scenes or local places, local things feel natural to international readers. Sure. And it's the way we do it is by really making the character and the story the hero, and making children fall in love with that first.
Yeah.
All right. We are joined by Brad Harris as well as Alison Harris, and they're the founders of Imaginary House. And we're going to continue the conversation when we get back. It's 20 minutes after 2 Central African time.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
An investigation by South Africa's non-profit organization Open Secrets has found that telecoms company MTN has played a role in shutting down the internet during elections and wars in Sudan, Cameroon, Iran, Afghanistan and Uganda, thus enabling governments to silence the opposition.
Interestingly, this isn't just unique to MTN. I think the report also looks at Vodacom DRC as being a proponent of one of these violations, particularly in shutting down the internet during during the elections in 2018 and 2019, autocratic regimes are able to utilize the licenses that they have with these telecom companies basically to, suppress political dissent. And the result is that many people are left without connectivity. And not only does this affect people's ability to communicate with their loved ones and access vital emergency services, but also at a very basic level of access to information.
The Open Secrets investigator, Lou Forno-Unduli.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa. Weekdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Central African Time. Your afternoons just got even better. Fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from an African perspective.
21 minutes after 2 Central African Time. We're still in conversation with Brad Harris as well as Alison Harris, and they're the founders of Imagnary House. Imagnary House has bagged the 2025 Bologna Prize for Best Children's Publishers of the Year. And it's an incredible accolade to have received. Because this is a publishing house that was founded when? In 2015?
2015.
It's not like forever ago. Brad, I just want to come to you. You mentioned something so interesting about naturalizing the stories or the characters, in the books that you choose to publish. Language is a big part of naturalization, right? And it has been a hot topic in terms of the books that children read in particular. Are you looking to publish books that are written in home languages or, one of the other official languages in the country?
Definitely, we definitely are. It's been something we've been looking into for a while, and we've actually been starting to experiment with it and try to find our feet in that space.
Yeah.
I think as a lot of local publishers are doing, it's an interesting space to work in because a lot of the time the readers that would buy books in their home languages don't actually know the books are available, so they default to buy English books. And so a lot of our efforts need to actually go in educating the market that the books are available and will be available, and not to default to the English books. And then obviously just a much larger focus in terms of local publishers' schedules, putting in more African languages on the shelf. But yes, it's a big focus of ours, and it is very, very important for that naturalization. That being said, a big focus, what we really try to do is take our local creators onto the global stage.
Sure.
And that does happen primarily in the English language. All by being translated into foreign languages such as Japanese or French or Italian. And so that's an enormous part of us taking our local creators and taking their stories into other countries in the world.
Yeah, and I think especially for local creators to make it a career, we need to catch up a bit just as a country. And so I think there's those two focuses for us. But I think we are realizing more and more that we are also learning and evolving. And there have been really fantastic talks like chatting with the Otto Foundation and Book Lounge. And there's quite a few key people in the publishing space that are really championing this. And I think more than ever, we need to work together.
As a husband and wife duo, how do you go about balancing those creative visions and then yet the roles within the organization as well? How do you guys do that?
How do we do that?
It's definitely an ongoing thing that we constantly have to work out, but it's also beautiful. It does help that Ali and I have our very distinct roles. I lead publishing and acquisitions, and Ali leads creative development. And so we can veto each other in our respective departments, which helps a lot. But I think on another more personal side, which I think is always forgotten during doing business, is we really have to prioritize family and ourselves and not talking about work all the time. So
so dates, we're not allowed to talk about dates.
I love that.
It's hard. It's harder than you think.
No, especially because, you're both very passionate, I would imagine, right? So part of date night is just bring your passions and talk about that and plans for expansion. But staying with plans for expansion, tell us about mediums such as audio. I mean, are audio books a big thing in the country? And especially, I would imagine that it would be part of a priority for a media house that is trying to get artists out there into the world. And what about film? Getting some of these stories onto film.
You're speaking our love language right now. And as Brad mentioned earlier, because our focus is on character and story, essentially that forming IP, we feel quite strongly that these can go into different mediums. Books will always be our first love, just because we love reading. But we've already started developing audiobooks, so we actually have quite a few that have been developed. We're in the process of planning for us to launch. And then film is also, we are in chats. We can't say too much, but we are really excited for the future. And I think what's really exciting as well, and you see this especially in overseas markets, is I think people often think one medium has to do well to then launch into the next. And we really feel like the more we push into the various mediums, they speak to each other and they support one another. And hopefully within these different mediums and channels, we have even more opportunity to just support local creators and makers.
I love that. And winning this prize at the 60th or 62nd Bologna Children's Book Fair, winning the prize of being the best children's publisher of the year in Africa. What did that mean to you? And also, what does this say about the consumption of African content around the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can both speak to this. I think at the time it meant everything. It's something that
it's been a dream in the making.
Yeah, it really has been. And purely in the moment, I was actually filming it because I was filming it just for content, and then I heard our name and I was like, what?
Is that
and
us?
I actually kept filming it.
Still walked up with the phone.
So that was just incredible. But I think also just to stand alongside other, because that fair, it's nothing like local fairs here. It's huge, like a city. You are surrounded by thousands and thousands of creators and traders, and it really is quite a humbling moment.
And yet South African content stands up, which is
incredible.
Quite an incredible.
And I think also to just note that what's been incredible is in the other years, it's also been South Africa has also been highlighted with other publishers as well. And again, this is where we feel
we've had in previous years, just to note, Jacana Media won the award previously. New Africa Books, Bumble Books. So we've had a few South African publishers that won previously, and actually there's a little bit of a legacy that we're carrying, which is also another wonderful thing.
It really does fill me with pride. I actually got goosebumps as you spoke about a legacy being built. And just kudos to you guys once again. We can't wait to have the books come out in various other mediums. We'll be keeping our eyes peeled. And maybe for, writers who are aspiring to get their works published, how can they get hold of you?
The best would be go straight to our website, imaginaryhouse.com. There is a missing I in imaginary, but Google will point in the right direction. And we have a submissions page, and submissions are currently open. So we encourage all writers to submit to us. We do have a strong focus on African writers and illustrators, but we will consider creators from anywhere in the world. The website, and you should find your way once you're there.
Amazing.
All right. Brad and Alison, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you
very much for having us.
That is Brad and Alison Harris. They are the founders of Imagnary House. Wonderful story there. Hey?
Congratulations to them. What a big deal it is, and it's a global nod, isn't it? When you get